As a child, I eagerly anticipated the arrival of summer camp every year. A place of adventure, new friendships, and unforgettable memories. Little did I know that last summer would forever alter my perception of safety and trust. The camp was nestled deep in the woods, a secluded paradise of towering trees and a pristine lake. I arrived with a heart brimming with excitement, ready to immerse myself in the joys of nature and camaraderie. The camp counselor assigned to our cabin, however, he just seemed off from the very beginning that I laid my eyes on him. His name was Mr. Thompson, a man of average build with a perpetual grimace etched on his face. His eyes were cold and distant and devoid of the warmth and enthusiasm that one would expect from a camp counselor. As he introduced himself, a sense of unease washed over me, an instinctive gut feeling that something was deeply wrong. Throughout our first day at camp, Mr. Thompson exhibited odd behaviors. He seemed overly interested in our personal lives, probing for intimate details that went beyond the boundaries of a typical counselor-student relationship. His comments and innuendos carried a sinister undertone, leaving us feeling uncomfortable and vulnerable. Nightfall descended upon the camp, and as darkness swallowed the forest, a tension filled the air. My bunkmates and I huddled together, exchanging whispers of concern about Mr. Thompson. We couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching our every move, his presence lurking just beyond the periphery of our vision. Later on in the summer, on a night, our suspicions had escalated to true terror. I awoke to the sound of footsteps outside of our cabin, accompanied by low, hushed voices. My heart raced as I peered through the blinds, my eyes widening in horror. Mr. Thompson was conversing with another shadowy figure, his body language looking sinister. My mind flooded with thoughts of escape, of running into the woods to seek help. But fear held me captive, rendering me frozen in my hiding place. I listened intently to their conversation, the words a chilling confirmation of our worst fears. They spoke of a plan, of secrets that must remain hidden, and of the darkness that dwelled within the camp's depths. As the night wore on, I struggled to find sleep, my mind plagued by nightmares both waking and slumbering. Each creak of the floorboards, each rustle of the leaves outside, they sent chills down my spine. The sanctuary of summer camp had transformed into a place of fear and uncertainty. Determined to uncover the truth, I confided in a fellow camper, a girl named Lily, who had also sensed something deeply wrong about Mr. Thompson. Together, we gathered evidence, documenting his strange behaviors and collecting testimonies from other campers who had felt the weight of his ominous presence. Armed with our findings, we mustered the courage to approach the camp director, revealing our concerns about Mr. Thompson's intentions. To our relief, the director took our claims seriously, launching an immediate investigation into the counselor's background and conduct. Not long after, the truth had emerged, a history of inappropriate behavior and previous allegations that had been swept under the rug. The camp took swift action, removing Mr. Thompson from his position and ensuring the safety of the campers. We were left to grapple with the aftermath, the shattered trust and the lingering trauma. That summer camp experience forever changed me. It taught me to trust my instincts, to speak up for myself, and to be vigilant even in the most seemingly idyllic settings. The woods may hold beauty and wonder, but they also conceal shadows that can twist innocence into terror. I still carry the memories of that fateful summer, the unease and the realization that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. But I also carry the strength and resilience born from the courage to confront darkness head-on. And through it all, I hold on to the belief that by speaking our truth, we can shed light on the darkest corners of our world. One Saturday morning, I, a 21-year-old female, decided to go to my local Goodwill. I suffer from chronic pain and I use a cane on my good days and a wheelchair on my bad days. Luckily for me, this was a good day. I parked out front and got out of my car and immediately noticed a man sitting at the far corner in front of the Goodwill. As I was walking into the Goodwill, he shouted, "Hey miss, do you have any extra time for me today?" I had never seen this man in my life and I really didn't want to engage with him, so I politely said, "No sir, not today, I'm sorry," and I continued walking. He shouted something else at me, but I couldn't make out what he said, and I was afraid that if I stopped and asked, then he would try to engage me in a conversation. I ignored him and I continued walking. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him begin to stand up. I walked faster and I entered the store. Thinking that I was in the clear, I began walking along the front of the store just looking at the items. My heart dropped when I glanced through the front window and I saw him walking briskly towards the entrance. I immediately thought that he might be following me. This has happened to me before at Goodwills. Every time I've wound up in an uncomfortable conversation where I have to continuously decline the advances of men that I'm really not interested in. It's gotten to the point where I wear a fake ring when I go out so I can say that I'm married because sometimes they accept that answer better than me simply not being interested. But in that moment, the disability left my body because I picked up my can and I booked it to the nearby rack of ball gowns and I hid behind them. Through the gaps, I observed him storming into the store and starting to look through the aisles. I was scared because he looked angry, maybe because I had ignored him. I didn't mean to be rude, but I thought that I had made it clear in a polite way that I didn't want to speak with him. I didn't think that it's wrong of me to want to go thrifting without having to engage with random men. A kind woman nearby came up to the ball gowns where I was hiding and pretended to inspect them. She whispered, "Are you okay?" I said, "I think the man in blue was looking for me." She said that she thought so as well, and I asked her if any of the nearby dressing rooms were open. She pointed to the one that was, and when I saw that the man had his back turned, I dove underneath the door and I locked it behind me. I called my boyfriend from the dressing room in tears and asked him to come to the store. Soon, I heard a knock at the door. The kind woman had gotten the manager. She told me that after the man had looked through all the aisles, he just walked out, grabbed his bag, and left the area. They closed the dressing room that I was in and let me hide in it until my boyfriend had arrived. Then one of the male employees and my boyfriend walked me to my car. That was the end of it. Nothing really dramatic happened, and since we were in public, I don't really think that my life was in danger, but it was definitely an unsettling experience. I hate to think of the possible confrontation that we might have had if he had found me. I'm just so thankful to the Goodwill employees and the kind woman that helped me that day. I'm a 21-year-old female and I went out to a sushi restaurant with my mom. Just two women having fun and enjoying our time there. Needless to say, we were not out to flirt with anybody. I started noticing the waiter was extremely close to us all the time, even taking his long time to service our plates while standing less than a foot away from us. But I didn't think too much about it at the time. The bill came after he finished and I took out my credit card and I paid. He then proceeded to talk about registering for a rewards program for discounts and loyalty points. Normal, right? He says that he only needs my email and phone number, and my mom said that I should sign in so that I could easily book a table for her upcoming birthday. I give him my information thinking that it would be used for this purpose only. We leave and I get home around 2 a.m. And at this point, he started to email and text me from his personal email and phone number. I immediately responded that I thought I was giving my information for commercial purposes only and to block him. I had a panic attack because I was stalked before, and it always starts with them thinking that we're giving a mixed message or flirting, which was not the case. I told the manager the next day, and the manager said that it was inappropriate and it might be motive for termination. Am I in the wrong for being so panicked about that? The manager said that there's no such thing as a rewards program in there, and I was not in any way flirting with anyone. So, I'm in high school and I was sit with a group of emo kids at lunch. A while ago, there was this one guy who would hang out with us. I didn't think much of him, a skinny white emo kid kinda like us. Until one day, he kept saying strange things and started making inappropriate comments to the point where he pointed at somebody and directly called them out. That was when we had exiled him from our lunch group. Fast forward up to recently, he joined my ROTC class, which is basically military in high school. He made dark comments all the time and darker jokes. Once there was a lockdown and we were all really scared, and he was sad that he didn't get to die that day. Meanwhile, being in ROTC, I was ready to give up my life to save people. And he said that he liked ROTC and wanted to join the army because of all the violence. I've also heard him joke about doing some bad stuff at the school. He does this a lot and it makes me very uncomfortable. I talked to my friend and it turns out that the other girls are uncomfortable as well. He keeps talking about death and dying and doing horrible things to people. I need to talk to my flight leaders about him because I genuinely feel that he might do something. This is actually my stepmom and her best friend's story. I have my own, but I'm so hesitant to drag some of them up. I'm hoping telling someone else's will open me up to a little more. My stepmom didn't like us much, but she told my sister, 3 years older, and I this experience growing up to scare us out of being stupid. It was my family's stranger danger story. My stepmom, we're gonna call her Macy, grew up as a kind of privileged teen in the 70s. And her mom had moved with her family over here, the States, from England when she was about 9. She went to a pretty nice high school and a really nice town. There, she made friends with a girl, Lily, who didn't exactly run with Macy's type of crowd. Popular, stereotypical, etc. They really hit it off, and Lily would take Macy out to do her type of stuff. Hiking, fishing, sailing. There's even a hilarious set of pictures of them camping. And my stepmom has raccoon eyes and it looks like she's hating everything. Anyways, because of Louie's influence, the two of them would do stuff like that a good amount. One Sunday, they decided to go hike in some hills about an hour away. Macy put on what I'm sure were her extremely expensive hiking shoes, and the two of them drove off to the hiking trails. Lily parked in this big clearing with makeshift parking spots, you know, like a piece of wood marking the head of a space, but there were no other cars there. This was only important in hindsight. They started hiking up the hill, off the path because Lily fancied herself as something of a badass. The hike was nothing extraordinary. If you asked my mom, she would just lament for 15 minutes how sticky and buggy it was. Anyways, they reached the top of the hill and my stepmom was done. The polished, pampered side of her was coming out and she groaned into Lily and begrudgingly said okay. They would rest and then walk down again, slower. They had been heading down the hill for maybe 10 minutes when Macy started bitching again. Lily conceded to walking down the side of the road instead of the rough hiking trail. So there they are, probably looking like a couple of tools geared up for hiking, and walking down a crappy road. And after not even 5 minutes, a truck pulled up next to them. It was red and rusty and just generally looked like a clunker. The guy driving rolled down the window and the girls looked in through the passenger side window. He had a big beard, a baseball cap pulled down, and long brown hair. He greeted them and even smiled through his beard, asking if they needed a ride. Macy described him as charming and even cute. Lily still says the moment he greeted them, her hackles went up. Despite her better judgment, my stepmom convinced her to get in the truck. It must only be a 10-minute drive down to the car, tops. The two girls opened the passenger's door to this rusty old thing, and the guy directed them behind the seat to get in the back. They settled in and the truck started rumbling forwards. Lily always says that was the point it hit her that what a mistake they had just made. The back seat was clean enough, but there was a rope on the floor behind the driver's seat and 4 boxes of saran wrap half hanging out from under the passenger seat. It seemed creepy and weird, but Lily didn't want to freak out my stepmom, so she just kept her mouth shut. After 10 minutes, the woods didn't look any clearer, and they hadn't seen another car the whole time. Lily asked how long he thought it would be, and he said he was taking a different route down the hill and had to stop somewhere to get something first. That was it. The girls were 16 and 17, and Lily didn't want to press the issue. She was scared. She can remember his hair because she was sitting behind him. He looked like a woodsy guy, but his hair was super tangled and dirty. She noticed crusted mud on his collar and tried to find something identifiable about him, but just got scared the more she picked up on little details. He was youngish, strong-looking, and had a foot on both of them, so they didn't ask any more questions, and he didn't offer any information. They just drove on. Several minutes after that, they reached a tiny shack, log cabin looking like place right there in a clearing of trees. There was an old stump where someone had been chopping wood, and a huge axe stuck into the log. Lily was definitely on red alert now. The guy turned off the truck and slipped out of it saying, "I'll be right back, don't go anywhere," and he disappeared into the house. Lily tried to talk to my stepmom about how she was incredibly uncomfortable, but she mostly just dismissed it. Lily started begging, increasingly freaked out, and finally put her foot down, demanding Macy exited the truck with her. And so they got out and walked around the front of the vehicle. The house was about 50 yards in front of them. Why this guy would have left 2 young girls in the truck alone while going into the house is beyond me. And they wandered around looking at it hesitantly. If this guy really was decent and just trying to give them a ride, it would be super rude just to run off, right? My stepmom had this strict upbringing when it came to manners and a public persona, and she saw it as an issue of that nature. So she actually started to head back to the truck, opening the front door to climb in behind the driver's seat. Lily was pissed off and followed her to yell some more. On the driver's side floor, half hidden under the seat, there was a big hatchet. It had dried, red-brown stains covering the blade and stuck to the floor under it. Lily understandably lost her crap after seeing it, and my mom started getting hysterical. They decided that leaving was by far their best option at this point, and just booked it off the side of the property into the trees, until Lily was fairly confident they were on their way back down the hill. My stepmom cried all the way down. Lily felt bad about it, but was also completely freaked out that he would hear it and kept trying to calm her down. When they finally got back down to the bottom and saw the old wooden fence that surrounded the original parking area, they were relieved. But as they got closer, they saw it. The truck. It was parked on the other side of the gravelly makeshift lot, just sitting there, facing the other way innocently. They couldn't see if anyone was in it, and of course, Macy wanted to run for the car, but Lily was super hesitant. She managed to calm my stepmom down, saying that she wanted to wait before running out into the open to see what was out there. Remember, this is in the 70s, there's no cell phones, there was no ranger station or anyone around. The parking lot was big and empty and open, and who knows what would have happened if they decided to stroll across it. Thankfully, Lily convinced my stepmom to chill, and the two of them hunkered down against a big tree, hidden by bushes and other trees, and waited it out for what seemed like to be a couple of hours, when dark started to fall. All the animals started coming out and making noises, and my stepmom predictably started getting antsy about this and bothering Lily, who was tired and moments away from giving in. She was planning her dash to the car when they heard a clunk. Across the twilight-lit lot, they watched as one of the back doors of their car swung open, and the bearded guy slid his way out of the back seat. He got out, shut the door, looked around at the surrounding woods for several moments, and then walked back to his truck. The truck lumbered past their car and out of sight. Several minutes after watching him drive away, they sprinted to the car as quickly as they could, jumped in and peeled out before they had even shut the doors.